hold on to your hats. The countdown to the biggest wellness event of the year is on.
Join us on August 15 and 16 in Melbourne for not 1 but 2 days of Powerhouse Wellness, featuring 11 of Australia's most inspiring, entertaining, educating, fermentating speakers.
Damo, what is fermentating?
MP, I'll tell you at the summit.
Your favourite wellness couch speakers are joined by special guest Nat Kringoudis on all things hormones and female health.
Join the Up for a Chat girls, the wellness guys, the natural nutritionist Steph Lowe, Cale Brock, Quirky Cookings, Joe Whitten, Marcus Pearce, and the rest of your favourite wellness couch podcasters.
Regular and VIP tickets are still available, but hurry before this summit is sold out. For tickets, go to www.thewellnesssummit.com. The Wellness Summit is proudly brought to you by Well and You. Be someone that makes you happy.
TheWellnessCouch.com, streaming wellness into your lives. This is Up for a Chat with Cindy O'Meara, Karen Smith, and Kim Morrison.
Here we are, up for a chat about the hottest topics that are important to you, inspiring you to awaken the change within. I'm Karen Smith.
I'm Kim Morrison.
And I'm Cindy O'Meara.
And welcome to today's rip snorter of a podcast, can I just say? Actually, mind you, I think I'm showing my age. I think there was an album many moons ago back in the 80s called The Rip Snorter. It was one of those compilations. I don't know where I just got that from. So today we're going to talk about all things to do with success and failure. And, you know, we have had an absolute plethora of questions come through the Facebook pages asking us to talk on certain subjects, and we are going to work our way through them. And today's the first day that we're really honing in on a handful of your questions that we've kind of compiled together to really help us to explore, you know, exactly what the hell is success and what do people mean by that? And specifically, what is failure? And I think what could kind of be cool in this conversation would be for us to also explore how the three of us deal with that in our lives, because honestly, there's a real reality that a lot of people don't see that goes on behind the scenes. And we were just having a chat about this off air, about how, you know, when we show up on stage or when we show up on these podcasts, it's all bells and whistles, but, you know, there's a whole world of work and commitment and focus and ups and downs that come together to bring a moment of potency to life. It's almost like, I reckon I could put maybe 5 years of up and downs for 5 minutes of potency. How about them apples? I reckon that's about it. So let's go down the rabbit hole. Let's explore it. Let's see what comes out of today's conversation. And, over to you, Crazy Cats.
So success.
Success. What does
What do
success
I
mean?
see?
What does success mean to you?
Well, you know, I've been thinking about this, and, you know, as far as success goes, it's really cool to be in a position where you feel like that you have the time to do the things that you want to do. So, you know, when you're you get up in the morning, it's a drudge, and you go to work and it's a drudge, and you come home and your life's just one big drudge. That's not success. But if you know, have made the time and organized your life and figured it out and have the energy and the health to get up in the morning. So for me, I go to bed at night and I can hardly wait to get up in the morning. This is to me success. I'm so excited about my mornings because I've created this amazing start to my day that I can hardly wait to go to bed so I can get up in the morning. I know that sounds really stupid.
So cute.
But I am, and especially when I've been away and I haven't been able to do my home base and the things I like to do and the things that I see as success. So, you know, my alarm goes at 6 o'clock. I have 20 minutes to get my togs on, get myself organised and get down to the beach, meet this amazing group of people. I swim, I'm in that water, and I'm in nirvana. That to me is success, is when you can find that amazing place that makes you feel good. This costs me no money, nothing. Or no thing, as Karen would say, nothing.
Yeah.
And then I have a coffee, and there's usually a philosophical talk or I don't know, just a chat with the people that I swim with. And then I go home and I have a beautiful breakfast and I have time to have a shower. And because I have a whole lot of clothes in my wardrobe, and that's not, I don't mean that in that I have a big wardrobe, it's just that it's bigger than a suitcase. And I get really excited and I see all the clothes that I can wear instead of the 3 items of jeans, shirts and dresses or whatever that I take with me. But I have this array in my wardrobe. I go, oh, what can I wear today? And I think for me, success is that I just talked about, the relationship I have with my absolutely amazing children, the fact that I have girlfriends, and especially you two, that I know that you are always there. If I need you and if I'm upset, you are there. If I'm crying, you are there. And yes, my business is successful, but I've been doing this 30 years. This is not an overnight success. But that pales into insignificance to what I have just explained that I believe success is. So, you know, I guess it's about being happy. It's about being content with who you are as a human being. It's about having respect for your body and doing the right thing by it, and respect for your mind and doing the right thing by it. And for me, that you know, I guess that's what I feel success is, guys. I don't know what else to see that it is. You know, is it getting up on a stage and having 350 people in front of you? You know, that's pretty cool too, and that makes my heart sing. And to know that people come and they say, hey, Cindy, I read your book 10 years ago. I followed you and you've changed my family's life. That feels good, but I didn't do the work. They did the work. I just gave them the information. And everybody can get the same information, and there will only be a handful, you know, in perspective as far as how many read the information. So there'll only be a handful that will go, I'm going to do this. I'm going to get off my butt. I'm going to make the effort. I'm going to and I'm going to change the health of my children or my family or my husband or myself, or I'm going to respect myself. So when they come up to me, I'm just happy I gave them the information. But I then say to them, hey, you're the ones. It wasn't me. I just gave you the information.
Yeah, I think that's awesome, Cindy. That's awesome. That's just absolutely beautiful, because everybody is doing the work, aren't they? I mean, as much as we think we can be guides and we can support and, you know, help people, at the end of the day, it's really about everybody actually being prepared to do the work themselves. And when we get lost, or when we don't really pay attention, or we don't stay focused on our goal, doesn't matter who we follow, there's never going to be an opportunity to experience what that feeling of success actually feels like, doesn't it? So, Kimmy Yatash, what do you think? What's your definition of success? What does it feel like for you?
Well, you know, fulfilling that role of tart is
Being
quite.
tart?
I do quite well, I thought.
It comes so
I would-
naturally. It just
I would
comes
call
so
that success.
One should always fulfill one's passion. Really.
Well, you know, in a way, success to me is really doing that, living your passion, living through your desire, living through things that make your heart sing. I mean, the more I look at someone who's financially successful, I think that is an amazing success in itself, and I really admire and love to understand what their lessons and learnings were around how to do that. I would love to have everybody be given $100,000 over a year and see what 10 people did with that $100,000 by the end of it. I'd love to measure what people would look, and I guess the people that created the most would be one definition of success, maybe. I think for me personally, it's not so much about the assets or the things or even the amount of money we have, but the way in which we live each day. And I don't mean that to sound cliche, but to me, to have 2 healthy children like Cindy was talking about, and to have a relationship with them that is to me was pretty successful giving birth to those two and actually getting them through childhood without killing them or them killing me in the process, I think was successful. I think the fact that I have a business that, even though I'm like a duck sitting on the surface of the water, I'd like to say swan. I'd like to say I'm gliding through the water, but underneath it, if you could all see my feet, they're like, I really, I push it. The fact that I have 4 people work under my guidance and that I have to pay each week. Every week I see it as success that I can pay their wages. I think success is watching my daughter. It's interesting when I watch her dance. To me, success is her even being able to perform, let alone where she comes. Although I did take the mickey out of her one day. We were in at Lorna Jane and she had got runner-up, and it was beautiful what she had done in this ballet competition. We're in Lorna Jane, and she got this beautiful couple of things. I think I spent $220 on her. And she goes, wow, Mum, that's amazing. And I joked and said, yeah, imagine what you would have got if you got first. But anyway, that was just me taking the mickey. But, I love to play on what it means to win and what it means to be ahead of the game or what it means to lead. I don't think any one of those has meaning unless it has meant something to you or that you feel you've done it with the right intention, the right heart, the right ethos. I think success often is getting really satisfied in giving even more than what you can get from the world. I would say that for me, the more I can give, the more I realise I get back anyway. So that mindset has really worked for me. We had everything, a house, mortgage-free, we had the car, we had a business of Danny's, we had everything you could say that looked successful on the surface. And when the Storm Financial thing came in and crashed, we lost all of that. And I really wondered if the fact that, we were then renting a house and whatnot, and yet the kids turned around to me and they said, we still feel rich. So I realised money isn't success. But it certainly helps the misery. I will say that. I know that for a fact, that money certainly helps any challenges and struggles out there. But for me personally, sweethearts, success is having you two and women in my life that feed my soul. It's having our beautiful listeners on the show. I think we could all say we would be highly successful knowing that each week people tune in to hear our conversation. I think that's pretty phenomenal. I think the fact that I have my health and a mind that is able to give is one of the most amazing successes in my life. So I don't know if that answered your question, Kaz, but I think I don't know if I can give it one meaning. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that's the challenging part, isn't it? I mean, to think that you could define success in one sentence, it's challenging. And I don't know that anybody actually could do that because it does have such a, it's such a broad brush. So I think that it's about, I don't know, I've been sitting here trying to think about how I would describe success for myself as well. And I think that, there are so many blessings that a person has in their lives that when we're not present to them, and even just this conversation has really made me very present. There are so many blessings that we've got in our lives that when we're not present to them, we don't see them as success. We just see them, we don't even see them, so we just take them for granted. Mm. And I think that if a person becomes very present to just what's there in the moment, you could be grateful that we've got technology. You could feel like that's a success, like to be able to successfully have a conversation with people that you love that then goes out to billions of other people that you love. That's pretty awesome. And, to be able to have a mind that can think and a body that can create and deliver and a heart that beats and loves and, arms that reach out and hug. I think all of those things are in and of themselves beautiful, beautiful connections to what real success is all about. And it's interesting when you become very present to the moment. You feel really, it's hard to even get perspective on what success is. I'm actually just sitting here thinking to myself now, is success, when we look at success is something to strive for. But success is off into the future. So really speaking, is success something that nobody ever attains because it's always in the future? It always requires that degree of time travelling into the future to anticipate success, and success is something that you're always striving for, never really feeling like you're achieving because you're never really in the present to pay attention to what's there. I'm actually just getting this now as we're talking. It's like it's as if be here now and every success that's possible is already here. Because nothing else is possible. And that there's a lot of peace that comes with that. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I while you were talking, I was thinking of people that we might see as successful. And I wrote 4 names down that I think that we would have seen them as successful, but they've lost their, they've lost their lives. So one was Princess Diana.
Oh, yeah.
And, I know she died in a nasty accident, and that's what Diana stands for, but I know that she died in that. But what was her life like before that? She just needed to seem to have love. Heath Ledger, so to me he was successful, but he died from an overdose. Whether he meant to or not, who knows? What about Michael Hutchence, Robin Williams,
wow.
and that amazing surfer that had the most beautiful girlfriend, had a baby, and he died from drugs as well. What was his name? Anyway, and I just kept thinking of all these people who were so successful, yet
Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley, and you could go through them all, and they had all the money in the world. They had everything at their fingertips. They would. Everyone thinks, they would travel. They had a adoring fan base. They had everything, yet obviously they weren't happy because they would not have been using drugs, I don't think. And Princess Diana wasn't, I know that, but her life just seemed to be sad, especially after she did that interview. So when somebody says, what a lot of hogwash what you girls are saying, because it is all about money, because money makes, it all available to people. But here are people who are very wealthy, who had everything. And obviously because I see taking drugs as you want to escape your life. Therefore, you're not happy with your life. Therefore, that's not a success. Does that make sense?
It's it's so true. It's so true. And I mean, I agree with Kim. In that money does help create a lifestyle. I mean, if you've got no money, your number one priority is where am I going to get my next meal from? And that's a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. But I honestly, there's a real stark reality around that, is that the focus for that person in poverty is their next meal. But the focus for the person who does have money is not the next meal, it's something different. But the stress and the feeling that comes with it is just as bad. We put ourselves through such hell no matter how much success we've got, because what we're looking for in success is outside of ourselves. We've got it all upside down and inside out. I really, a hand on heart, and I'm telling this to myself as we have this conversation, because I just lost my shizzle a little earlier today. But I think that, we have so much to be grateful for, yet the stress and the pressure that we put ourselves under is no less than somebody who doesn't have so much. You build a life around a certain income. So when it comes to money, you build a life around that certain income, and everything you make, you spend anyway. So I don't know. I don't know. I think that the pressure that we put on ourselves, no matter what level we're at financially, the pressure that we put on ourselves is horrendous.
Yeah.
And it actually robs us of the experience of success.
It's true. It is true. We... you may build a successful business, but then, that successful business requires people. And when you make a profit, the tax department takes it. And then, I don't know, I don't know if success is having a thriving business that that makes you money that you then give it all out in tax. I'm just not sure.
I agree.
But you know what, girls? If we were sitting here, and any of our listeners are listening to this, and they can't fall pregnant, for instance, they would see falling pregnant as a major success and a major thing that many of us take for granted.
It's very relative, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it is, and I think that was the point that you alluded to, Kaz. Is it's very relative to where you're at in the moment, and whatever you're striving for or working on or challenging through or breaking through, maybe it's more about the present moment than what it is your past or your future. Because I know for me personally, I don't even use the word failure in my vocabulary anymore, but if I was to look at the challenges as failures, I think I've had a freaking truckload. But it's out of those in hindsight, and when you've worked through the emotional aspect of that's your greatest opportunity for growth and openness and humbleness and love of yourself and how you manage yourself through those challenges. So I think you've... Kaz, I'm having a little moment with you here in this moment, and you too, Cindy, but just that real thing of, I don't even think it can have I don't think it has a definition. Every one of us would have a different definition depending on where we're at right here and what we're looking for or striving for in each of our lives. I can tell you this, hanging from the Story Bridge, sitting in an abseiling thing on Karen's Mindset Mastery, I would say it was successful. The fact that those people pinned me into that thing properly, that was success. That would have been a mighty failure had I not been pinned into that properly. But I would also say that coming down the side of that wall, as I was climbing down it, that's an oxymoron, you don't climb down maybe, but as I was working down the side of the building, all I kept thinking of was each drop is a success. You haven't died, you haven't fallen, you're not. It was such a cool analogy for where I was at, because I've always had this thing about heights. And as I was going up the side of the Story Bridge as we were climbing it, oh, Karen, I cannot begin to tell you the conversations, because I've got all these people around me thinking that I'm really successful. They were even telling me as I'm going up the side of the bridge, oh my gosh, you three girls are amazing. We love hanging with you. And I'm thinking, if you only knew what was going on in my head right now. And then I was really honest with them, and I said, if you only knew that my fear of heights right here, right now, I'm asking myself, why am I afraid of these heights? Why? One more step higher I've gone, another step, and I'm so grateful for your encouragement, because my hands are shaking right now. But it was based on a fear of falling out of a ride when my sister, at 9 years of age, she was 6, we were on a thing called the Teacup, which was a ride at the Easter show. Her belt came undone and she actually slipped out of the holding capsule, and I was holding on to her, screaming for dear life for them to stop the ride. And that came to me as I was going up the side of the Story Bridge, that feeling was there again, and I realised that maybe my fear of heights was around losing my sister, and so I was really having this conversation. And I think whenever I think of success or challenges or failures, whatever the words are that you use, my challenge to me always, thanks to you and your training, is why am I feeling this, and what's pushing these buttons, and is there something I can work through? And did I die? No, I didn't, and I'm not dying right now, or now. And I was so aware of being in the present. Whenever I get that sense of failure or not doing good or not doing well, it brings me right back to that present moment. And that Story Bridge climb and that abseiling off the side was one of the greatest ahas I had around that. And I think sometimes success is actually putting yourself outside of your comfort zone, doing something maybe that you wouldn't normally do, and realising that you do survive in spite of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I think that was one thing that I really got when we did the abseil down the Story Bridge, because I've done it a couple of times. And the first time I did it, oh my goodness, I damn near wet my pants with terror. And I remember seeing everybody's faces, like the terror in everybody's faces as you're hanging off the side of that bridge. It's like it's a sensation of life and death, really. But they've been doing it for over 20 years and they've never lost anybody. So, I don't know what makes us think we're going to be the one. But it's it's definitely a feeling, and I think having done it a number of times now, the last time when I did it with you, Kimmy, it was, I thought to myself, okay, well, I can just do it like I normally do it, but I want to have a different experience. I want to feel that sense of aliveness. I want to feel myself smouldering from the inside. I want to feel reconnected to the real thrill of what this actually is. And I heard one of the girls, when she first hung over the ledge, she said, oh, wow, this feels so free. This feels amazing. And she's never abseiled before. And she said, this feels so free. This feels amazing. And she started swinging. And I thought to myself, you are just far too brave, girlfriend. But I thought, that's a perspective I want. That's a really good way to see through somebody else's eyes. Oh, man, it was awesome. It was. And she was so relaxed. She was totally in her cucumber zone. Cool as. And so when I went down, obviously after all of you guys, had gone down, I thought to myself, I want to, I really want to feel that, and I want to be reconnected to the magic of what all of that is. And it was exhilarating. It was really exhilarating. So again, then, the comfort zone gets expanded even beyond that. And that, you're dead right. That is absolutely a sensation of success. Of feeling your comfort zone absolutely blow out the boundaries. It's huge. It's awesome. Actually, I'm getting really excited now that I think about that. Let's do it again.
I'm feeling it too.
Let's go do it again. Let's do it again.
Yeah. Can the three of us do it?
Yeah.
Oh, and I missed out.
Oh, next time. Actually, we've got one jump in credit. So here's what I'm thinking. The three of us can go and see Magic Mike XXL. Right? Hello. And then we go do the jump afterwards. Because
I would jump out of a burning building for him. I would definitely.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Sounds wonderful. Okay, so I'm just going back to the success, because while you guys have been talking, I thought, okay, so there's two definitions of success here. And that is, it all depends on your perspective. So where you are in the moment, getting pregnant, if you haven't been able to get pregnant, or landing your first job, if you applied for 40 jobs. So it's all about what's happening in your life. And I think it's important that we celebrate those things as well, because many people don't do the celebration. They just kind of go then move on to the next one. So I think that's one. And then second is success overcoming fear, which is what you two just talked about. Is it the overcoming of a fear that you've had? So the fear of meeting someone, the fear of swimming with sharks, the fear of abseiling, the fear of getting your first job, the fear of getting pregnant even, giving birth. So is there two definitions here? So I also looked up on the on the web, what is the success, and there was somebody that says here's a better definition, and theirs was not. It's not about financial, but it's whether you're happy. So there's a third with success. So happiness, what's ever in your life at the moment that you've succeeded in, which could be every day getting up. And for somebody who's got a disability, it may be, being able to get up in the morning and make a breakfast. That's success. And then the overcoming of fear is a success. So I just feel that there are so many definitions for success, and we can't just say this is what success is. And being happy in making money is also success, because you're making money because you're happy doing what you're doing. So there's so many out there. I just think it's hard to just define it as one thing.
Well, maybe
Cindy, sorry.
No, sorry. No, you go.
Well, no, I was just going to say, do you girls remember at our Awaken the Change Within retreat last year, and one of the things came up that I had made some money, or I had built some money back up or something, and then I went, oh my gosh, I just made, I think it was I don't know, $10,000 or something or other. I'd said some comment, and then I went, oh my gosh, I should have put it out there that I wanted $1 million, not $10,000. And someone in the audience yelled out, oh, don't be greedy now. And Cindy turned around and said, oh, hang on, I want to pull you up on that. You know, if Kim was able to make $1 million, imagine how many more people she could help. And that was a really big aha I got around success and achievement and drive. Do you remember that, girls?
Yeah, I do. I remember it very well.
Yeah, I remember it well because it's not about being greedy, because I've never seen you hang on to money, Kim. You always give it away in
in shoes.
She's good. She's really good at it. But no, what I mean is that she's so like, it's about either increasing her business by putting on more people, by creating more products, by, I don't know, it's always this, nobody hangs on to it. It's a give and take, and it's the cycle that comes around. And so I see you, Kim, if you had made $1 million instead of 10,000, then you would have helped more people, because I know that that's what you're all about, because I see you on your emails at 4:30 in the morning helping people. You know, you're always so giving in what you do. So I don't know. I was a little bit put out by that, and I just wanted people to know it's not about the money. It's about what you do with that money. If you hoard it and do everything for yourself, that's different. But it's comes in as easy as it goes out.
Well, let's flip it then. The other side, which was a number of the questions on that beautiful feed on our Facebook page, was, you know, how do you girls cope with failure? What do you do to overcome that, and how do you still stay good with a sense of self-esteem and all of that sort of jazz? If I was to ask both of you that question, first of all, do you feel you failed? And be honest. And then what have you both done in order to turn those failures around?
Do you want to go first, Karen, or do you want me to?
No, you can go. You go.
All right. Okay. So I think we need to realise that failure isn't failure, it's a lesson. And I know that I learnt this from a very young age, because it was Alexander Bell, was it? The guy that figured out the light bulb?
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was Alexander Bell or who it was, but, you know, when he was said, oh my gosh, how many times have you failed to make it? And he said, no, I just figured out 1,000 ways that you don't make a light bulb, or 100 ways you don't make a light bulb. Yeah.
Love it.
So, and it's true. You could say that I failed right up until maybe 5 years ago in everything that I did, because I still was in my house. I was working out of my home. I had one person that worked for me part-time. I don't know. But that's not right, because what was happening in my life was that I had kids at home. If I was doing what I was doing right now, I wouldn't have the freedom back then. I didn't have that freedom back then, because my life was my kids. And then when the kids finally finished school and everything was over there, then I was able to step into a new role. So the success for me in that role was being a mother. And now I'm in a new role, and it is my business, but it's still I'm still a mother, and I'm still a friend. So I don't think that you can ever talk about failures as being failures, but rather lessons and ways not to do something, or to teach you how to get to that next point in your life. So yeah, I don't want to say that I've ever failed at anything, because I never got to the Olympics in skiing. Was that a failure? No, because I went to another avenue in my life. I
would like to say that you failed on Alexander Bell. I mean, if you really think about it, Bell's phone.
It was a phone.
That was the phone.
Oh, he was the phone. Okay.
Okay. Edison or someone else.
It's Edison.
That is
so I'm actually
funny.
really excited that I, as in Kim Morrison #heart, picked up on a little failure there. I'm actually really excited. I'm proud.
No, you know what? I won't make that mistake again, will I? Because now I know it was not Alexander Bell, but
Thomas Edison.
Thomas Edison.
Oh, I think, was it? Oh my God, am I now
Oh,
saying?
geez, do I need to Google it?
Oh my God, you better, because I might be wrong now. But you're
Oh, you know what I watched last night? I watched with my son and my husband that movie where it's a cartoon and it's about being in the brain of the person and all the emotions.
Oh, what's that
Oh
one
my
called?
gosh.
I've seen
Yeah.
that. I so want to watch that.
It's hilarious. And it was all the memories. And, you know, that it's not my fault that I've forgotten that it was either Alexander Bell or Thomas Edison. It's that emotion in there that dropped my memory and it's not important anymore.
I'm with you on that.
Oh, that's great.
What about you, Kaz? Like, what do you think of failure, and what is your definition of all of that? You're the mindset person. How does that screw with our heads?
Unfortunately, far too much. Yeah, look, it's really fascinating because there's my own personal experience, but then there's also what I know, most people suffer with, or not most people, but a lot of people suffer with. So for my own personal experience, it was never something that we were conditioned with growing up. We never, my parents never explained what failing was. So it was never something that I had a frame of reference for. And I think it's very similar to you, Cindy, in that everything is just another experience. It's just another step in the right direction. And as soon as we apply the word failure to it, then all of a sudden it becomes like a waste of time or a waste of energy. And from my conditioning and from my growing up and from what I learned, I never learned that was ever a waste of time. I only ever learned that everything that I did would bring me closer to what I wanted. I only ever learned that. So even when things do all turn to shizzle and I, have a bit of a conniption or a meltdown, I still don't have the association in my mind that I failed. I always have the association in my mind that there's just something else around the corner, or hang in there, or this is forcing me to decide whether I really want this anymore. And I think that's always been my frame of reference for it. But I know that a lot of people have got a lot of meaning around those words like failure and, like we were talking about, Kimmy, when you made that 10 grand. A lot of people apply greed to wanting more. And and that's got nothing to do with the truth. That's just got everything to do with the way that they apply the meaning in their own reality, which is not their own bloody reality, by the way. It's a conditioning. It's just a belief that they've established over the years that some peanut gave them. And no offense to mums and dads, but sometimes mums and dads are going to be a peanut. Like, they're going to give us beliefs that are their own, that are born out of their own experiences or their own conditioning. And it's not true, right, or real. It's just their own belief that beats them up, when things don't go right. And I think that's the crime. Because the truth of the matter is, if things were supposed to be different, they would be. And the fact that they're not different is because if it's causing us pain and struggle, it's because it's showing that we're out of alignment. So just get back in alignment. Recognize it for what it is and don't make meaning of it that's self-destructive. Recognize it as an opportunity to either work a little bit harder, try a little harder, or change directions, or improve your resources, or, there's always an answer to everything. Doesn't matter what a person's experiencing, there is an answer to it that will have them shift direction and change results. Always. It doesn't matter what it is. But the minute we get caught up in the belief of it being failure, we're stuck. And then we just circulate inside of failure. I'm not good enough. I'll never be enough. My dad was right. Or, I'm never going to do this. This is never going to work for me. It'll always work for her, but it'll never work for me. What's wrong with me? There's something wrong with me. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And then we just circulate inside of all of that. And then, of course, that becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And the more time we spend there, the more time that gets wasted on things that could have been very fulfilling or very exciting or very enticing. So I think it's really, if anybody that's listening to the podcast that has any beliefs around failure, then it's not a case of looking at what you're doing to avoid the failure. I really want to really stress this. Don't look at what you're doing in order to avoid the failure. Put your energy into addressing what failure means to you, what you apply failure to, and how it keeps you stuck. That's the work. The work is on the failure and the story and the belief and the conditioning around failure. The work is not around what you're doing, because what you're doing is perfect, magical, and nothing needs to fail. Everything can be a success. Everything can be a smashing success. It just depends on how far you want to go with it. But our belief around failure is the very thing that has us fail. That's what I believe.
Oh, I think it's brilliant. I think as a mum and I think as women, we can articulate this and we can do it. But I think men are a little bit more black and white. When I look at Jacob when he's missed a kick in rugby, or if he's dropped something, like there's just this energy around. He's so frustrated or angry that he has failed in that moment. And my challenge for him is always as a mum, and I have been told to shut up. But, you know, I'll get off the park and go, oh, no, you still did great. Oh, no, you're still brilliant. I thought you were... He goes, Mum, shut up. I was useless. I completely failed today. I dropped the ball. I missed the goal. And just shut up. And I'm like, I think sometimes...
Right. You were told.
I was, and I do get told. But I think what I've learned with him, and the mums out there of sons or husbands that are very competitive will hear me on this, that sometimes we just need to sit in the perturbation of what that was in that moment.
Totally.
And allow ourselves the emotion. Because I think disappointment, anger, frustration, being annoyed that we maybe didn't hit a milestone or something that we'd aspired to, I think we can allow ourselves the luxury of wallowing in that for a little bit. My challenge with Jacob then is, all right, I will shut up, but once he's calmed his farm, his words, once he's calmed down, then I will go back to him and kind of say, mate, how'd you feel? You know, what did it do for you? Sorry that I interrupted you on that. I just want you to know that I think you're awesome no matter what, and it's just a game. But at the end of the day, let's look at why you didn't achieve to where you wanted to get to, and maybe next time round there's a better way of handling it, in the sense of maybe the sign or the message was you hadn't put enough practice in this week.
Yeah.
Let's look at the fact that you had a cold this week. Let's look at the fact that Dad's just gone away again and maybe your emotions just came out. You know, there's no wrong in this, but I think the inquiry is what I've learnt from you, Karen, and teaching my kids, is the inquiry as to what was the reaction to that moment, as opposed to just living in the reaction and constantly repeating that reaction is, you know, that's where I've really tried to, and in teaching my son and my daughter that, it's a real reminder for my own self-expression in those times of what I would see as perhaps not reaching a milestone or a failure or a challenge.
Yeah, absolutely. And I absolutely agree with you. It's in the inquiry, it's in the willingness to go inside and actually have a look and see what's going on for yourself. Because when you know that, then you've got a place to work from. But when all that you have is just the constant swinging around, you know, I'm a failure, then there's nothing to work with that. You know?
You know what's really interesting is watching the tennis players and how they look at their failures, as far as they didn't get it over the net, or they had a double fault or something like that. I find that really interesting, in how they talk to themselves. And you will see some berate themselves and others will not berate themselves, but almost in their mind you can see them going, okay, that was, you know, I did this wrong, I need to pull it over. And you know, I that's what I think is important, is that we stop berating ourselves and stop wallowing in it, and start, you know, going, okay, how can I do that better, and move on.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, it's all very well in hindsight. You know, you look at it in hindsight and you can actually go, oh my gosh, if I didn't do that, then I wouldn't have been there, and then this wouldn't have been happening. And then perhaps the people that are listening right now could, and if they do feel like they've failed in their lives, perhaps what they need to do is go back through their life, and I know we shouldn't go back in the past, but it might be a good thing for them to do, and go, oh my gosh, if I didn't fail that, then I wouldn't have met this person, and I wouldn't be doing this, and then this wouldn't have been happening. And celebrate the fact that, you know, that the reason that happened, as you say, Karen, is because it was perfect at the time.
Yeah, it wasn't supposed to be any other way.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I think
So
great lesson I've learnt from you two is even in the moment, and it's very hard to think so pragmatically and beautifully and
when
mindfully.
You're there, going through it. Oh, yeah.
When you want to throw your cot. Oh, not the cot, but not throw the cot, but throw the toys out of the cot. But you want to, maybe you do want to throw the cot. I'm just laughing because on the weekend we played tennis for the first time in 5 years. And oh my God, you would have thought that I was trying to ice skate for the first time in 5 years. Like seriously, honestly, the number of fresh air shots and the serve that went over the fence to the bird, the butcher bird that was sitting, I nearly hit him. And we were in hysterics. My son, however, was so shitty, so grumpy, and here he was trying to beat my brother. Now, this is the competitive, which is why I think it's important to bring up the way men do this.
Yeah, yeah.
I wanted to turn around and say to him, oh, for God's sake, pull your head in. And, oh, Jacob, you missed the ball. And then I'd sort of laugh a couple of things. No, my brother just turned around. My brother said nothing to him. And then Jacob threw the racket and then walked off the court and went, I'm going to go home. I'm just going to go home. Anyway, so we stood there and I'm thinking, ooh, I better not get involved in this. Anyway, we carried on, and then Aaron just quietly turned around to Jacob and said, mate, when was the last time you held a tennis racket? And Jay goes, what? And he just goes, seriously, when was the last time you held a tennis racket? He goes, you've actually got everything it takes to play an awesome game of tennis. You get to every shot that I play to you. Your thing is just practice and experience. So I'm asking you this. If you practice this 100 times, do you reckon you'd get to the ball better and you'd hit it back to me? And Jacob just looked and he goes, I just want you to think about it. I mean, you might as well go home if you don't want to play anymore, but we'd probably get another 100 shots in here before we all decide to go home. And how would you feel at the end of that? And Jacob just stood there. We carried on playing. Then he just went, yeah, it's my turn. I'm back on the court. So he came on. And we had the best we played for 2.5 hours. None of us could walk the next night. Jacob could, but Aaron and I sat there trying to roll on rollers and do everything we could that night. But
Ice bath.
Ice bath. It's an age thing.
It was. And there was no way my brother was going to let Jacob beat him. But it was really good to watch the lion with the cub. You know what I mean? Like, yeah. I realised it was really powerful, and his languaging around, practice makes perfect. And Dan Carter, #Hunk, All Black number 10, who always hits the ball over almost perfectly every time, just saying.
She's such a dag.
But he signed a poster for Jacob, and he went, practice makes perfect. Actually, perfect practice makes perfect. And I really loved that. And I thought, we all look at these top tennis players or top people or people in business, or I can't begin to imagine the amount of so-called failures they would have had or not shots. I mean, what's his name? The top basketball player always says that. I practiced 1,000 misses before I got, a good number of rights or whatever. And I just think that's what we have to keep in mind is no one can be brilliant at anything until we've practiced, perhaps, or maybe we can be good at being in the moment is a good practice.
Absolutely. That's so true. It's so true. Without that, it's just, it's just wishful thinking, actually. It's not a reality.
And it's almost throwing tantrums. Like,
I know.
It's resorting to the little tantrum inside of you when you don't get it right or it's not going your way. I have not met anybody yet, and I don't know if you two are the same. I have not met anybody yet who has gone, you know what? My life has been one whole breeze. Everything I've aimed for, I've got. Every person I've wanted to meet, I've met. Every meal I've eaten is perfect. Every time I exercise, I come back this shining, unbelievable light of being. I'm unbelievable. I never get angry. I never get upset. I never cry. I never lose money. I never make money. I don't know if you've met anybody. So I love your line, Karen. Welcome to the human race. So why do we compare ourselves to thinking we should be something other than what it is in the moment?
It's sad, really, isn't it?
Yeah. But Kimmy, good point. Bloody good point. The fact that nobody on this planet can say, everything's perfect. There's not one thing that I've, done wrong. I don't think... Actually, if anybody is out there listening to us who can say that about their lives, we'd like to hear from you because we're going to interview you, right?
Yes. I'm not sure we'll get Jesus Christ, Buddha, or any Hindu god or anybody on the line, but...
Hey, Jesus Christ was not perfect, remember?
But everyone thinks that he was.
but he got mad. Remember, he got mad at the people that were desecrating the temple at one stage, and he was upset about himself. And I'm sure, you know, when he was hanging there on the cross, and I think he says something like, "Why have you deserted me?" Now, that's not perfection, because God doesn't desert, apparently. So even you know, I'm sorry, but I don't think I think you made a bloody good point there, I never really thought about it before, because what happens is we as human beings look at other human beings that we think have a perfect life. They may have, you know, the perfect home, the perfect, I don't know, just
it's never
just
what it seems.
Sorry?
It's never what it seems like.
No, and it's not ever what it seems. I remember, and this is really admitting something that I'm not especially proud of.
Go on. Go on.
Yeah, this is going to be juicy.
Oh, I like it.
But when I was at Matthew Flinders...
Oh, my God. Hang on. Can we just
Stop
get
it.
a roll?
But when I was at Matthew Flinders, I used to watch the mums and what they'd drive up in. So, I just had a normal Toyota. But, you know, they'd drive up in their Range Rovers and their BMWs and their Mercedes, and I'd always look at them and I'd go, oh, they must have a really, you know, easy financial life. And, you know, I'd make these comments to myself. I'd never seen their home. I didn't know what their life was like. I'd just look at the car and go, oh, you know, do you know what I mean?
Totally.
And then now in hindsight, and hindsight's very good, I look at some of those women that were driving those beautiful cars, and then I realise they had beautiful homes and they had everything. And I look at them now, and then most of them are divorced. Many of them, they were living on, basically they were living on borrowed money. And even though on the outside they looked successful, and even I remember some, I'd look at them and go, everything seemed perfect in their lives, but you don't really realise what's happening in anyone's life. And so I guess what I'm trying to say is that we need to really realise that nobody has that perfect life. Nobody has that thing going, even though on the outside they may look it, you don't know what's happening on the inside. And that was a really big lesson to me, is that, you know, that type of thing of looking at someone and looking at their vehicle, because that's probably the only time you're ever going to see them, and they're driving these prestige vehicles. But it really doesn't mean anything, does it?
Oh, so, and whenever I drive around Minyama Island or Noosa or, you know, all these beautiful homes, and I always sit there thinking, God, will I ever have that again, or will I ever be able to be that again? And then all of a sudden I went, okay, let's just say I had it. I do this to myself sometimes. I'll sit there and I go, okay, let's say I had it. Now what? And then I go, oh, like that's a real big challenge. Now what? So I think I've really learnt the art of being in the moment. Part of the building up of something or creating something or aspiring to something is actually the real juice. That's the essence of what it is. And then when you do, say, accomplish something or buy something or create something or achieve something, I don't know anybody yet, again, that I've met that hasn't gone, okay, on to the next thing, or what else is there, or it's a never-ending plethora of opportunity and goals. And if we were all the same, we'd all be aspiring for the same thing. I mean, not everybody will want to ever own a business, and some days I can absolutely understand why. There's other people out there that will never want to speak, but there's people out there that would love to learn how to speak. There's people out there that would love to become parents. And I think every little step, every little thing we do, it's more about honouring the process, the achievement, or how we picked ourselves up from destitution or failure or compromise or whatever it was that we've had to come through. It's how we pick ourselves up. That's when I look at someone as successful, actually, when I look at someone going through a tough time and then they all of a sudden go, but you know what? It is what it is. I have to turn this around. Give me 24 hours to wallow. Bring me a bottle of wine. Do whatever it takes. But you know what? Tomorrow the sun will shine again, and I'll be back on my feet. And I love being around people like that. I love hearing people I love hearing people's so-called failures. I keep saying inverted commas and doing that and realising none of you can see that. But I keep imagining the inverted commas of failure and then going, actually, what is it that gets you back up? How? Okay, let's ask you both that. I know we're coming to the end, but what is it when you're going through challenge, perturbation, failure, whatever it is that word is, what do you both say or do to yourselves to pick yourselves up again? Because you two are the epitomes at... I have you two in my head. Whenever I'm going through something, I have your thoughts, your words as coaching me through. What do you say?
Well, I call you two.
Yeah, true that.
If we want to be honest about it, let's just
true that. Yeah.
Let's just say it.
If I'm going to be honest, if I really am struggling, I will probably call one of you. And then once you've slapped me around and given me the truth, I pick myself up and I keep going. I mean, and I'm very serious, because I remember the other day I said something to Kim. I just said, I think I did something like, da 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 da. And Kim goes, she just spins it into the positive. And I thought, oh my gosh, I was negative. I was really negative about that, and I should not be negative about that. And it was
you had a lot of scripts to read and go through. And you're like, oh God, I've got all this week to do this week, and I went, oh my gosh, look what you're creating. That's all.
It was the documentaries. I have 24 hours of scripts to read, and it was just, and you turned it around, and then I got excited to read them, and what was really interesting is that. The amount of people that I've interviewed, which is to 14 now, and each one of them have been, 2 and 3 hours. And it was really interesting, because reading them, you actually really pick up on more than what they said. And I remember interviewing my 8th or 9th person, and she said something about the shikimate pathway. And I'm like, the shika what? The shika what? So I'm asking her about it, and then she gave me information to read about it. Oh, you're not going to believe it. But when you're not aware about the name of something, 2 people before her had mentioned the shikimate pathway. Ooh. And by reading it, I saw it. I went, oh my gosh, 2 more people talked about the shikimate pathway. So it was, that was
what's
then.
What's the shikimate pathway? Sorry, what's that? What is it?
All right, so
it's when you're really frustrated and you want to ring a girlfriend.
Oh, is it?
Oh, shikimate. Oh, shit.
Oh, that's so clever.
I think it's our new swear word, actually.
Go. All
right, so this will be in the documentary, but it's really worth knowing. So Monsanto is a huge company that one of their products is called Roundup. Roundup has a chemical in it called glyphosate. It's been proven that glyphosate does not affect cell biochemistry in the human body. But what glyphosate is, and what Roundup is a herbicide. It kills the microbiology of the soil. So when we realize that we are 10% genetically human and perhaps 90% genetically bugs, microorganisms, then we realize that the shikimate pathway that only bugs do is being destroyed by, they're destroying the bugs, which means the bugs can't produce the shikimate pathway, and glyphosate somehow stops that. So what does the shikimate pathway do? When fructose is given to a part of our microbiome, which is sugar, it produces something called PEP. PEP then goes through the shikimate pathway and makes our aromatic amino acids. Our aromatic amino acids are tyrosine, tryptophan, and phenylalanine. These 3 amino acids are essential to make our neurotransmitters, Karen Smith, including dopamine, serotonin, and noradrenaline in the gut. So you know the importance of those neurotransmitters. So Roundup is something that is it's sprayed on our wheat, it's sprayed on our sports fields, it's sprayed on the side of the road, it's sprayed on our sugar cane. It's actually in the last 10 years been something that is being sprayed everywhere, and we're exposed to it. Our guts are being destroyed. Our gut microbiome is being destroyed. It's not making the aromatic amino acids, which in turn affects our brain, basically, and our nervous system and how it communicates. So it's really, when Kim said to me, hey, what a great position to be in. Like I said, the first people I do to pick myself up, and I don't know, we did go on a bit of a tangent then, but the first person I do to pick myself up is I ring you guys, and then all of a sudden that whole thing happened because I sat down and I said, right, I'm going to spend Sunday doing this. And then I get this great discovery, and then, I don't know, that's success, I guess. Yeah.
I'm not quite sure I would have passed microbiology and been able to repeat that in the same way. I'm not sure I'd call that a failure, but I'm actually really glad to say that I'm part of your success. I'm just saying.
I will take that, claim that as my own. Moving
All right,
along.
Karen, both of you have to say, how do you pick yourselves up?
How do I pick myself up? I'm just trying to think. When I get to those moments where I can barely breathe with concern and feeling lost and confused. Fortunately, they don't happen that often, but when they do happen, it kind of really bites me on the bum, and it brings up a whole bunch of, negative self-talk and all of that sort of stuff. And I think that's, I don't know that I'm necessarily alone in that. But the upside, I think, is that, when you know better, you choose better. And even though you might have moments of major humanness and bended knee and tears in eyes, those moments don't last for very long. I think it's really, sometimes life can bring us to our knees. But I think if we stay there, there's a problem. And that's what I try to focus on. And I think because I spent so much time broken, I spent so many years depressed, and I spent so many years wasted in a whirlwind of my own thoughts about how good I was or how good I wasn't. I think I'm very mindful now that I'm not prepared to sacrifice any more time. I'm really only prepared to be in the experience of feeling down and out, but then my job's to pull myself out. And if I knew how to get out of it, then I would have already done it. And so I look at it as a way to say, okay, there are people that I need to lean on who've walked this path before me. And I'm also very blessed to have you girls. And I'm also very, very blessed to have my sister, who is, she's somebody who can shine a light in places that I'd never be able to reach the light switch for. Because she's, been an incredible success. She's experienced all the magic. And she sees, she sees so clearly. But I think unless I'm in a position to actually pick myself up and go in search of my answers, then I'm going to stay stuck for a long time. And that's just not something I'm willing to do. I'm not willing to sacrifice time. I'm not willing to sacrifice time spinning around in the I don't know and the I'm not good enough. I'm only willing to be in the place of this is teaching me something. And unless I open my eyes, I don't see it. I'll miss it. And life will show this to me again. And I don't want that. I want to get it first time round. I don't want history to repeat itself. I want to get it first time.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And I think we waste so much time in our life just bashing ourselves up. And you're right. Don't waste time. Don't do that. Just move on. Learn from the experience and move on. What about you, Kimmy?
Probably similar to you both. I've got both of you. I'm very privileged. I think when you are someone who's active in being the best that you can be and constantly see yourself as a whip or a work in progress, then you're open to all things. And I think for me, obviously, one of the things I reach for instantly in any state is my oils. And
I knew you were going to say that.
I spritz the heck out of myself, which is also a reminder to wake the hell up. I'm very lucky because I do this so openly, and when I see other people going through things, I spritz or inhale or rub them or do whatever. I seem
it's
to have.
So true. It's so true. You spritz me all the time when I'm over there.
But then in turn, I'll have my kids run me a bath, or I'll have someone rub my shoulders and put a drop of oil on, or I think, be the example, and it comes back to you tenfold. That's not to say I don't throw wobblies, or I'm not an absolute space cadet, or a one soul, or a tart, or a tart, or I've lost it with my kids. But then I'll walk away, spritz myself, take a deep breath, and then have the guts and courage to go back in there and apologise. Or I apologise to myself more so. I've taught myself to apologise to me at the moment, and I have these funny little. Ever since Karen has mentioned and talked about, and I really put it into practice after doing Mindset Mastery, was I put that little story going on in my head, I put it into another person, I visualise someone sitting on it, and I really do, and it kind of, if nothing else, the humour that comes back out into that is enough to allow me to be more playful in the extraordinary stupidness of what I'm feeling, and then I can come back into, okay, well, that was just a moment, and now here I am again in this moment, and I can do better now. So, I still beat myself up. I'm not saying I'm perfect, and I still think I'm a failure, or useless, or stupid, or fat, or ugly. I have those words in my head at times. I'm not going to deny it or pretend that they don't happen, but I think you said it, Karen, that just doesn't seem to last as long anymore. And it's these podcasts and these conversations and listening to other people I look up to that I go, wow, they seem to have all their shizzle in one little place, as you would say. And, I'm very grateful for the learnings, very grateful that our listeners see that in us, which also, I have to be honest with you, being on a podcast like this with so many thousands of listeners and being on stage with so many people wanting to hear what I've got to say really makes me accountable to my own shizzle, I will say.
Totally, doesn't it?
Don't want to own that stuff. I don't want to be there. I want to be the light that you think I am. And if that makes me step up, then sometimes being the teacher is also the greatest part of learning, where you see your own self very magnified. And my children will attest to that. I've had Jacob turn around and go, oh, if all the people on the podcast could hear you now. And he's right. I'm like, oh my God, if they could hear me now, they would think I was a definite level 1 soul. But then I think, all right, if they were watching me now I've picked myself up and I've said sorry and I've spritzed myself and I've made myself a nice keto coffee and I'm sitting here and I'm in a much better place. So, it's a good reminder.
Oh, yes, I get that one too, Kimmy. Oh, if they could only see you now.
Oh, goodness gracious, how hilarious.
Yeah. You just don't have kids to say that to you.
No, I don't. I'm very grateful for some things.
You've just got the dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you know what, Pat? I reckon you would notice that when you are misbehaving or not being your most authentic, beautiful, true self, or when you are having those little moments, which we are allowed to have, I might add, I reckon one of your puppy dogs, or there's a phone call or a text or an email, you watch what happens when we unfold the openness of this, that there's people there to remind you, or dogs or friends or animal. There's something that comes in to remind you. You just have to be open to seeing what it is. And you are.
For sure. Absolutely.
Imagine us all at the top in Machu Picchu when we're all there and we're standing at the top all together in a big hug in a group and we're going, oh my God, is this success? In fact, I'm going to put it out to you. I'm going to say that at the top of our climb. I'm going to turn around and say to you, is this our success, girlfriends?
So we've still got 2 spots on Machu Picchu up for grabs. We've had so many people inquire about it, and honestly, I've got so many of those itineraries out there. I don't know who's going to come back and book themselves in, but right now there's still 2 spots.
Oh, I can't wait. I cannot wait. I'm so excited.
It's going to be extreme because we're going, I had a closer look at the itinerary, and Cindy, the food, the restaurants that we're going to are just breathtaking. When it comes to that kind of food, it's all so organic and beautifully grown. And, you know, their whole culture and their whole way of being and interacting with the earth is just profound. I mean, really, I can see myself getting lost in that. Mm-hmm. And then when we arrive up at the top of Machu Picchu and all the way through the whole trek, we're going to be doing meditations, we're going to be doing visualizations, We're going to be setting the foundations for our creativity so that when we come back to Australia or back into our lives, we've actually got the most profound direction beyond what we could ever have imagined without it. If we've got businesses or if you've got families, we're going to have the most amazing direction in the context of creating an accelerated journey, like accelerated growth and accelerated experiences, so that we're not sitting around waiting for life to unfold for us. We're actually the initiator. And I honestly can't wait.
Me neither. Yeah. If I got a buzz out of climbing flipping Story Bridge, what am I going to be like there? I'm just saying.
You're going to be out of control, girlfriend.
You know what? It's actually going to be amazing to not only share it with you two, but to share it with the people that are coming with us. And I do know that many people have quite amazing experiences at Machu Picchu, as well as the surrounding areas and where we're going. And, it can, for some people, we're at high altitudes, and it will put them above what they probably think that they can do. But with all of us together, I think collectively we will help everybody through the hiking, through everything that they're challenged with, because we're all challenged differently, and it'll be really fascinating, I think. I'm really looking forward to it. It's been on my bucket list for so long, so I'm so excited for it. Yeah.
And I think, too, just on that, I think that there's an opportunity for everybody to see it as getting a new perspective. Taking a higher perspective than the perspective that we swim around in every day. There's a whole other perspective that only height can give us and only elevation can give us. So you've got to get up and get out of the battlefield in order to experience that majesty. And sometimes it comes with a bit of a challenge. Sometimes the air's a little thinner up there. But
and it's also being in nature, Karen. That's a lot of people don't get out of their homes and their city, and they don't have that connection with nature and the sun and the moon and knowing what's happening, because that's also important. So that's what I'm really looking forward to. I know whenever I go out into nature and I go camping, where I see the moon and the sun, I don't know, you sleep better, things work better for you, you think better, your body works better. So looking forward to it.
Oh, magic.
And if they can't come to Machu Picchu, though,
yes,
we three are together next time in August. Next month. We are together very shortly, in a couple of weeks. We are all in Melbourne. So if you can't make Machu Picchu, Melbourne might be the next best bet, do you think?
Yeah, I think so. And it would be next week, Kimmy.
Oh, yes, it will be, because this comes out next week.
Yeah.
Yes.
What, Melbourne?
Yeah.
Wellness Summit's the 15th of August.
15th of August, yeah, it is too. Oh, yay, going to the cold.
Oh, with those other yummy wellness boys, though, and with beautiful Jo Whitton and Nat Congrad. It's honestly, there's such a beautiful lineup of people. So excited to see it. And it's the last time the three of us will be together on stage for the year.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay, I love you. Sorry, I just had to bring that one in too, because there was an inquiry this morning on Up for a Chat. So
no, that's awesome. I'm glad that you did. So everybody, make sure that you go to our Facebook page and you send all of your questions, all of your thoughts, and all of your ideas about today's podcast. Tell us about what success and failure feels like for you. Hit us with it. You can also go to allthews.facebook. Here we go. To go to our Facebook page, go to allthews.facebook.com/Up for a Chat. And you can also post your comments on allthews.thewellnesscouch.com/Up for a Chat. So make sure that you do that. Stay connected with us. Interact with us. We're your girlfriends, So
a little bit special needs at times, but we're all there.
Yes, just a little bit. So join us here next week on Up for a Chat and become part of the ripple effect that's changing the world. We're going to see you on the ride. Bye for now, everybody.
This has been a production of TheWellnessCouch.com. Check us out on Facebook and join in the conversation on Facebook.com/TheWellnessCouch. Subscribe to each show on iTunes and check us out on Twitter. The Wellness Couch, streaming wellness into your lives. Whilst the Wellness Couch presenter endeavour to provide accurate and helpful information to their listeners, these podcasts cannot take into account individual circumstances and are not intended to be a substitute for health and medical advice from a qualified health professional. You should always seek the advice of a qualified health professional before acting on any of the information provided by any of the Wellness Couch podcasts.